Welcome to Industry Insights. Today I'm talking to Jill Stuber, President of the Food Safety Coach. Hi, Jill. It's a true pleasure to have you here today and talk with you about food safety and talking about it today from a little bit of a different angle from the human factor that's involved in
Mhm.
food safety. So, will you please introduce yourself?
You bet. Thanks for having me today. I'm Jill, the food safety coach, and I started coaching in food safety and quality because I've been in it for over 20 years, and a
Wow.
majority of that has been in manufacturing. But after working with a lot of teams in a lot of different companies, what I realized is we aren't always setting our people up for success. And so I took a different approach and actually went through coaching certification so I could become a professional coach and really leverage some of the skills I learned through leadership and coaching to better set people up for success.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
why I'm so happy to be here today because I think our missions are more aligned than not.
Yeah,
So thank
absolutely,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome. You bet. Let's talk about people because people. I mean, without people, there is no food, and
Mhm.
people make sure that food is safe. And so, what would you say? What roles do they play specifically, and what are their biggest challenges?
Well, I always love working with people in food safety because you don't just wake up one morning and go, I think I'm going to be in food safety. There's something that kind of draws people in, and they really have this passion for what we do. And it often stems from this technical side. And so we get really good at being technical, and then we move into leadership roles. And we're kind of put in there and said, well, just go figure it all out. And one of the things that I look at is whether we're talking about new GFSI requirements or the new EU regulations on food safety culture, and even the FDA blueprint. They all talk about how do we start building this food safety culture that really gets us over the finish line when it comes to having safe food every day. And I think it really starts with taking care of our food safety and quality teams.
Yeah,
And I know that's a
absolutely.
different perspective, but I think for so long they've been charged with taking care of all of the programs and making sure everybody else has training and all of these other parts that they're often on the back burner when it comes to having the structure and support they need to be really successful in their role.
Yeah, and the role that they're playing is such an important one. I mean, in the end, we're all consumers, right?
Mhm,
Everyone has to consume food at a certain point, and so we were working really for ourselves in the end, and for our families and friends,
mhm,
and so that is the most important thing because we all want to protect our families and friends. And I can see, especially now these days, how challenging it is for people to be working in the food sector and the food industry because there is so much pressure and
mhm.
and yet there is so little support sometimes from from your own department that you're working with. So how would you say we can support these people and motivate them so that they are, I mean, of course they are, as you said before, already somehow drawn to that job of
Mhm.
theirs, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. But how can we make the bond even stronger and engage them even more and support them in regards of ease their job and yeah, make it more comfortable, maybe even in some regards.
Well, I think you hit on a really good spot because at least here, Gallup has this poll that talks about engagement, and it finds 60 to 70% of our workforce isn't engaged. And that really applies even to people in food safety and quality. I think, like you said, there's so much pressure and there's so much that we have to cover, and risk and brand risk and regulatory risk. Those things are layered and layered upon what we already do. And that can often lead to a sense of overwhelm and, kind of treading water and even burnout. In fact, I just did a poll on LinkedIn, which I know isn't statistically valid, to find out when people in food safety and quality can unplug. And almost 50% of people said never. They're on call 24/7, 365. And so when we look at how do we set them up for success, I think it starts with small steps. How do we create these structures and routines for daily success that lead into longer success? I like to equate it even to manufacturing, because when we're making food down the line, we we know we can only make so much. There is a capacity on that line. And if we take those same type of principles and start using those for our food safety and quality team, we'll be able to see, have we matched up a workload capacity that really supports their success in that role? And so just taking small measures to go in that direction and help them be better leaders and help setting them up for what that looks like. Because not everybody does know what that is. It's not intuitive to know when I walk into a plant, what do I do today? Or if I'm supporting a plant, how do I support them and what does it look like? But like I said, that's what I love about what you do as well, because part of it is, how do we leverage tools that are available to make life easier, to make our system stronger?
Yeah, right. And often the enthusiasm that people start with just gets lost along the way because there is no support, and they feel overwhelmed. And as you said, burnout is not an, uh, it's a very common thing. So we want to try to avoid these things. And, like I think one thing would also be to have a backup in specific roles. People can go on vacation, they can have sick leave, whatever they really need to, and not worrying about what's happening to food safety. If there's a backup, they can do that and they can feel comfortable, and they can be okay with that situation. But otherwise it creates an additional stress to their life that's out
Mhm.
there already. And I mean, yeah, being on call 24/7 is that's a heavy duty for sure.
It it is, there's not too many people that do their best work really under stress.
Yeah.
And so, there's always a balance, but that's why I work a lot with clients on how do we create standard work lists
Mhm.
so that way it's not hidden.
Yeah.
Like I said, often we champion this crazy culture that we live in food safety. And
Mhm.
we talk about how every day is different. And they can be. But I also think we can have a new perspective and write a new story around what our days look like, because there is some amount of structure and routine within those days.
Mhm.
And especially if we are willing to step up and create those as habits so that we can have more success in our day. I always relate it back to like top athletes or, top business people. Like they don't just happenstance upon that. They
Mhm.
just don't show up at the gym or show up at work and whatever comes by is what they do. There is always a plan on how to be successful.
Yeah, you
And
need
so
to be
really it's
structured.
translating that into how do we do that for food safety
Yeah,
so that people
exactly.
don't have to feel overwhelmed and they do have backups and
Yeah.
really thrive. We've got all these openings for food safety roles. And how do we make these look appealing and structured so that we have more people who want to come in and learn this and have this experience and help us make safe food?
Yeah. And one of the topics at GFSI was that companies are about to implement way more of AI and ML to the whole food safety process. And I also think that is a lot of help to people working in that area, because being supported by machines. I mean, of course, you have to get there to a certain point where they are really a support after they learned and have been trained. But once you're there, it's just like a combination of workforce, really, technical and artificial workforce and human
Mhm.
workforce. But that going hand in hand is, I think, it's a very beneficial for people to, yeah, to have more time, and to be able to focus more on what, as you said, what helps them thrive, and have the time to do that. I mean, so often you're just so up in your job and you don't have time to even think of adding more training for yourself, or educating yourself more. And that would be just a huge achievement, really.
Oh, absolutely. Like, how do we create space so that we can use our brains and our energy for those next level problems or issues or situations and improvement versus maybe some of the things that we know there are already tools to help us? So, whether it's something like taking temperatures,
Mhm.
there are so many different, let's say, temperature probes out there that we can set up to automatically take temperatures.
Mhm.
That alleviates something from our plate. And then we can use that time and that energy to do something different.
Yeah.
It's even like the tool that you have. When we have a system that helps send communication out regarding recall and helps track all those records, we can spend our time doing some other work to investigate and fix and do some other parts that are really critical to that recall process as well.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So I think we've
Mhm.
solved the situation now. People need to listen. No, just kidding.
Absolutely.
But yeah, there are so many good ideas and great. There's so much great help out there. Really, just you have to take the
Mhm.
time. I think as a company, sit down and think about it and figure out what's best for your staff, what how you can
Mhm.
best support your people working for you, and create a safe and encouraging workspace, really. And yeah, because in the end the companies itself will benefit from that, and we all of course benefit from safe food. And so we all being consumers can feel even more safe knowing that companies take care of their employees. So wow,
Absolutely.
that has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Jill. I
Oh,
hope people learned as much as I did talking with you about this whole topic, which is so important because
mhm.
it involves us all, and it's just yeah, a different view on the topic of food safety, and a very important one in my opinion. And so thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Well,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Stephanie. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks. Goodbye. That has been today's episode of Industry Insights, talking to Jill Stuber. Thank you for your attention and see you again soon. Bye.